Dawson, what is the nicest thing a non-family member has ever done for you?
Phil, that question is a profound one, and one I recommend all of us ask ourselves because you asking the question prompted me to think about everything everyone's ever done for me, which was nice, and that turned out to be thousands of things. So, all of us, when we ask that question, can be full of gratitude for the people who have just out of the blue, out of the kindness of their hearts, out of their own self love, have shared things with us. And as I was having to undertake the very difficult task of ranking them and then picking one out of the thousands, I picked one that I think was powerful for me because it was early in my life. And so there was a man called Eric who was a friend of my father's. And when I was in high school, Eric gave our family the money to rescue me from the miserable public school I was in and put me in a private school. And Eric's sons, he had two adopted sons and one natural son, and his boys had all gone to private schools, and he could see I was really struggling in public school. Wasn't doing very well. I had a lot of problems growing up, and a lot of family problems, a lot of personal problems, and so I was just in no way was I thriving. And so he helped me move to a much better school, a public school, where I was exposed to bigger ideas, bigger worldviews, much nicer people, and that really set me on a new path and made me start to realize that I actually had sparks of potential inside of me. Before in the public school, I was kind of nobody and beaten up and miserable and failing, and I just was headed for a life of being a non-entity. I never could have aspired to being a best-selling author or accomplishing much in the world. And Eric's giving my parents that money and then paying for me to go to that private school in high school made a huge difference. And I also learned something about generosity then. And now I know that all kindness is in fact kindness to ourselves. Kindness we express toward others is projected self-kindness. And also criticism and blame and anger toward others is all projected self-criticism, well, virtually all projected self-criticism. And so I remember somebody watching my wife and I interact with each other a few years ago, and this observer said, the two of you, you and your wife, you are really nice to each other. And I thought, well, it's true, but it's also projected self-love. We love ourselves, we're kind to ourselves, and so it's natural to be kind to somebody beyond yourself. And this man, Eric, had a history of philanthropy. He'd given a lot of money to various causes, and he had two adopted sons as well as his natural son, and he made sure that he treated the two adopted sons equally. So when one boy got a bicycle, the other two boys got a bicycle as well. He always was very even-handed. But as it happened, one of those two adopted boys began to drink alcohol in high school and eventually became a drug addict and was in and out of rehab, in and out of jail. And so some of Eric's philanthropic endeavors turned out not very well. And this boy who became an addict was a real source of anguish for Eric and his wife. And so Eric, though, didn't let that deter him. He kept on giving, he kept on doing good, even though some of his experiments turned out not very well for him. So that's the answer to me. We do these things for others ostensibly. We do them for ourselves, really. And every act of kindness toward other people that I do is really an act of kindness toward myself, an act of love, an act of self-care as well. So I learned so much through that, and it's affected my whole subsequent career. Now I have a large nonprofit. We've worked with over 20,000 veterans with PTSD over the past decade, offering them free treatment. We've seen 9 out of 10 of them recover from their PTSD symptoms. So we've done a lot, both in research and treatment, to help move the needle. I've written several best-selling science books. I love science. It's full of answers for us. And so I do all these external things, and yet they're just extensions of my own growth, my own self-discovery. And so I just so learned from Eric that all of these ways in which we are publicly and toward other people are reflections of how we are privately toward ourselves. And the big lesson there is love yourself unconditionally, live exuberantly, don't let the setbacks set you back, and just be generous with your information, your money, your time, your love. It pays off dividends. Thank you.